Megan, I could tell that last story.
That would be awesome.
Do you think?
I think it would be cool.
Okay. Well, did you want to listen from up here?
I do want to listen. Do you need this?
I don't need that.
Okay, I'll just take it with me then.
Somebody left their trash up here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well,
We were playing ball.
this story is about a family. Now, this ought to be something y'all kind of can relate to a lot, because I know that a bunch of you have brothers and sisters, and some of you have lots of brothers and sisters. And in big families, each one's just a little bit different kind of personality. Well, in this family, there happened to be 5 kids. The oldest of all the kids was Ralph. Now, Ralph thought mostly about himself. He did everything that he could just to get something for himself. Obviously, that meant he was a little prideful, but it was more just about what he could get back. That's kind of all he thought about. Now, the next in line, her name was Debbie. Debbie, well, as much attention as she could get. That was her main goal. She wore flashy clothes. She would act like a clown if it made people laugh. She would tell a joke just to get attention. The next child in this family, her name was Guinevere. Now, Guinevere wasn't quite so flashy, you see, because she was a cheapskate. She saved her money. Now, that meant she did have quite a bit of money. In fact, Guinevere had a piggy bank full of money. She was attached to it. She couldn't be without it long. Guinevere, did you forget your piggy bank? You don't want to lose that. Somebody might take all your money. She was rather attached to that thing. You see, she had been collecting money for quite some time. Guinevere was so cheap that if she didn't have to spend a dime, if she could just spend a nickel, she'd only spend a nickel. If she could get away with spending just a penny instead of a nickel, she would spend just a penny. But ultimately, she was happiest if she could just get things free and not have to pay anything at all to keep all her money. Now, the next child in this family was George. George, well, he wasn't flashy. He wasn't even proud. In fact, all George was
There's a scrape on my glasses.
just there. Nothing ever went right for George. He was always unhappy, rather grouchy, all the time. Didn't really interact well with the rest of the family. Now the last child, the 5th child in this family, his name was Larry. And Larry was a pretty sweet kid overall. Not flashy. He didn't try to show off. He didn't care much about attention. He really didn't even care what he got. He didn't look for gifts. He kind of felt sorry for George. You see, Larry had grown up with his 4 older siblings, and they made him miserable all the time. Either grumbling at him, or trying to be first in front of him, or trying to show off, making him always look like less of something. But Larry wasn't miserable. See, that just wasn't Larry's thing. Larry loved his family, despite all that they did to him. He really did love them.
I love you guys.
Well,
Be quiet.
it just so happened that Ralph was out one day working in the barn, and they had a calendar hung up on the wall, and he goes over to the calendar to flip it to the next day, because he noticed nobody had flipped it to today. And lo and behold, on the calendar it says March 10th. Now, normally that would just be another day of the year, but also noted on that page was Mother's birthday.
Mom's birthday.
He suddenly thought to himself,
What did you say? Mom's birthday.
what will I get her? I haven't planned anything.
It's right there. I hate birthdays. I hate holidays. I hate unicorns. I don't like stuff.
Each of them were going, oh no, I have no idea what to get her. And Ralph said, well, okay, I don't have a lot of time, but
You have a lot of time.
I know, I've got an idea. I'll get her something I would want.
I'll give you something I want.
Then, because she can't use it, because she won't want it, she'll give it back to somebody else, maybe me.
And she's not gonna want it, and she's
not going to want to keep it, and then she'll make me give it back to me.
Then I'll have something new for myself.
And I'll have something new for myself for Mom's birthday.
Debbie, on the other hand, pondering what she should do for her mother's birthday, well, it had to be nice.
Okay. Paris is so out. We've got to get something new in here. I hear like New York's got stuff, but like, who has time to order stuff from New York on your mom's birthday? The shipping is so slow. It's expensive. I paid for it. Okay, I have to think something.
It had to be expensive because it had to be obviously the nicest gift out of them all. That would be what was most important to Debbie. Now, as Debbie was thinking on this, Guinevere thought to herself, a gift? My piggy bank? I don't know if I can find anything for a penny.
Where's the dollar store? I mean, I have to get something on clearance or on sale. Oh no.
She said, I don't want to lose anything inside of you.
No! You are starved.
But she would look. She would look. Maybe she could find a really good deal. A really good deal.
At a garage sale or something.
Now, Larry watching all this just thinks to himself, they're not really thinking about Mother. All of them are thinking about themselves. You see, because George popped up next, and George says, oh, Mom's birthday.
Give her some of these clippings or something.
He was like, I have to get a gift? But of course, I guess he...
Drop your glasses.
Larry, shift up your shoe. You see, George wasn't interested in even taking the time to really get her a gift, but he thought to himself, I guess if I have to. Larry, on the other hand, having watched all of his 4 older siblings and listening to them complain about having to get their mother a gift, complain when, after all, she had taken care of them and raised them all these years. After listening to Ralph say, hey, I'll get her something I want.
I'll get her something I want.
After listening to Debbie say, well, it has to be expensive. It has to be the best in the world.
Well, it has to be expensive. It has to be the best in the world.
He was kind of sad as he thought, you know, really all I want to give is something that tells her I love her. That I'm grateful for all the meals she's cooked.
She's done all the meals, all the diapers. I mean, shoot, she worked.
All the money.
That was a big chore.
In fact, he said, you know, I guess what amazes me the most is all I want is to give her a gift. I don't want anything back.
I just want to give her something.
After all, she's been giving to me for years. So thinking on these things, they all went off their merry way to go, well, some of them shopping, some of them to think of what they would give her some more, some of them to save a little more money. And they spent the day preparing for that evening. Now later on that evening, their mother was in the kitchen preparing dinner. And in fact, they had to move in the dinner table. You see, it was a new house. They hadn't gotten all the furniture in place yet. They didn't need chairs. They were all relatively short people. They could just stand at the table. And as the dinner table got in place, the mother began to set the table and prepare for the evening. But she hadn't much long been preparing when in walked all of her kids. First Ralph, and then Debbie, and then Guinevere, and then George, and then Larry, each of them carefully hiding behind their back what they had prepared, the gift they had gotten for their mother that day. She smiled, excited, and Ralph spoke up first and said, Mother, we got you gifts.
Mother, we got you gifts.
He said, we remembered it was your birthday.
We did. And it was on
the calendar.
And he couldn't even wait. He said, "Here you go, Mom."
You know what? I want to get mine first. So, on the count of three, I'm going to whip mine out of nowhere, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Hockey stick!
Hockey stick!
Just for you.
Greatest hockey player in the world!
But he said, Mom, just in case, just so you know, if you don't really like the hockey stick and you want to give it away.
Well, if you don't really like the hockey stick, if it doesn't fit you the right, if it's not like the same, durability you can always just give it to someone.
Maybe somebody that
Someone
that
that's
would like it a lot.
Like this tall. This tall. And, yeah.
Their mother said, "Well, I guess I have no use for a hockey stick." She said, Larry, would you like to have it? Larry smiled excitedly. You see, all of his older siblings, they had hockey sticks, but they would never let him play with theirs. And he just had his own brand new one. All his own. Ralph stormed out of the room, furious. After all, the hockey stick was supposed to be his.
That was supposed to be mine, for the record. Oh, my leg.
Their mother was sad. You see, she could tell that Ralph had only given her a gift just to get something in return. That he had only been thinking about himself. Debbie was next up. You see, Debbie had spent all day shopping, well, to get something as quickly as she could, but still something as fancy as she could. And she began to hold out her gift to her mother. But you see, just as she was holding it out, just as she was about to give it to her mother, it fell out of her hands and went crashing to the floor.
Mother, this to you. There you go. Oh!
She panicked. She didn't know. Maybe, did it break? She was all worried. I just spent all this money. And is there a chip? The mother looked at it carefully. Unfortunately, it had chipped. Just a little bit. All that money is broken. And she comes storming out of the room. Just gone. You see, that she had given a valuable gift to her mother. Her mother realized that ultimately that's all she was worried about. Not about showing love to her mother, not about giving her a special gift on her birthday, but about it being the best. And the fact that it had gotten shipped, well, it just seemed a ruined gift for Debbie. What a selfish thing. Well, then there was Guinevere. Now, Guinevere, well, she had figured out just how to save some money.
Mother, I bought you a watch. 50% off. Well, I thought it's 50% broken, but you can go to the store and get it for only half price because I got it on price.
The guy said it sometimes might turn your wrist green when you wear it. He said, but it works. It tells time. And, yeah, they'll fix it.
I got a deal. I got a deal.
Her mother was kind of sad. You see, obviously her daughter had just been focused on the cheapest thing. But she was grateful after all for the gift. Then there was George. George didn't even hardly say a word, just here, threw something at her and wrapped it in a brown paper bag.
I think it came from my laundry hamper. Please wash it.
As the mother looked in and pulled the gift out, oh, the smell. Hey, George, what is this?
Actually, kind of that bag. I realized what that is. I don't. No, the bag's for you. It's your birthday.
George just gave a gift simply because he felt like he had to. He hadn't even gone to the effort to give her something that wasn't his. He'd gone to his laundry hamper and pulled out the first thing he could find. Just threw it in a brown paper bag. Larry, on the other hand, noticing the tears on his mother's face from biggest gift, the selfishness they had shown.
It's okay.
Said, Mom, I love you.
I love you.
And I have something for you too.
And I got something. It's not big, but...
He says, I grew it myself.
I grew it myself.
Even got pricked a couple of times.
I hurt this finger really bad. And I really scratched up right there. I'm not sure how.
He said, I searched through the whole garden I
I went
grew.
through like all 4 of them, and I found the prettiest, biggest one.
He said, Mom, I love you.
I love you again.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
She began to burst into tears. After all, this is the first gift out of all of her kids that had been given to her out of genuine love, expecting nothing in return. Larry had spent of his time,
How long are we supposed to talk?
however much you love her. Think for yourself. Have you ever had a birthday where you opened your gifts? I think that's a lot of blood in the background. A lot of blood. Well, you gotta get your rose in a vase, right? So that it doesn't die. We'll clean up the dirty laundry and chipped and cheap stuff. It's okay. Have you ever had a birthday where you opened up all your presents and you looked through some of them and the first thing that happened is the friend that gave it to you wanted to play with it himself? Or maybe you looked at some and you could tell, this isn't even something I wanted. They didn't even think about me. Think about what Larry did. Larry took of his own time to grow the roses. Larry took of his own time to pick out the best rose, because he wanted the best for his mother that he could offer. He even hurt himself doing it, but that was okay with Larry. After all that was important was for him to show his love to his mother. Not like Ralph, he didn't want anything back from it. Not like Debbie that wanted to just give the best gift so that she could be noticed. No, all Larry was interested in was showing his mom how much he loved her. And how thankful he was for all that she had done for him. He gave a gift. Not out of obligation like George. Not out of any selfish desires. Not really expensive. But one that went from his heart of love for her. Out of a heart of gratefulness. And of his own time. Let's pray.